When we have an immediate problem, we want an immediate answer. And sometimes when we're watching videos on YouTube, we're not getting exactly the answer we need. And so recently, I've had people starting to email me directly with specific questions about things that are happening in their life right now in real time. And so in today's video, I want to address one of those questions and really understand that, because I think a lot of people are going through this same situation. Ashley, I recently took my girlfriend on this weekend trip. We had so much fun for the first 2 days, and then all hell broke loose. I don't know what happened. I didn't know what I did. I don't know what I did wrong. Can you explain to me why this happens? Also, Ashley, by the way, this isn't the first time that it's happened. It's happened multiple times. Now, I know that many of you out there may have experienced this with a girlfriend, boyfriend, a significant other, where things are going great. Life is good. Things are really good. And all of a sudden, the very next day, all hell is breaking loose. It's a complete shit show, and you don't even understand what happened. You're trying to figure out, what did you do wrong? And in the process, you're trying to deductively reason that, but it seems like there's nothing you've really done wrong, but you keep catering into the situation or trying to at least figure out how to calm them down. And so let's discuss what's really happening right now, and let's break it down for the reasons why people act this way, and also what you should probably do in the situation that'll help you and also help the situation. Okay, first of all, it takes you off guard, right? You're not expecting this. It seems like everything's going well, and then everything is not going well. So why does this take place in the first place? Because we have to answer that question before we can understand how we need to be and how we need to act in the situation to calm things down, to keep the peace, but to ultimately see what's really happening here. There are multiple things happening here at one time, and so there's not just one thing happening, and that's what we want to talk about. First off, you're getting super close to this person, okay? And that other person is having moments of peace and lucidity, which is allowing them to feel good about you and them getting close together, which is a good thing. And that's great, but that other person is getting scared. They're scared, and they're also scared that they're getting attached and they're getting connected and that you're going to leave them. Think about it. Everything's going well, everybody's having a good time, everybody's at peace and having fun. If I'm having a fear that ultimately everybody's going to leave me or I'm going to be abandoned, the closer I get to that person, the more fear that's going to come into my mind and my emotions. And so what happens here is that fear starts kind of mounting up. So you're gaining all that fear. You're not expecting it. You're not feeling it. And that next day or even later that night, that's when the drama hits. That's when the arguing and the fighting. Because remember, if we create drama in a situation, we're creating a divide. We're creating friction. That friction and that divide keeps the closeness at bay, right? So it keeps us separated because we're arguing, we're fighting, we have all this tension. And so that helps to keep that closeness away. It helps to divide from that attachment that we're feeling. We create that drama to kind of fulfill that situation. Also, that person is pushing the other person away, you, because of that fear, and the fear that the person is going to reject them ultimately. So this is all based on the fear of somebody leaving them and the fear of them being rejected, okay? So if you can kind of understand where this is coming from, because ultimately, most of the time when this is happening to us or happening at us, we take it personally. We feel like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done to deserve this? Am I a bad person? Have I done something wrong? And then you start questioning your validity, and you start questioning your value. And this is where we go ultimately wrong. Because what happens here is we start getting defensive, or we start getting angry, or we start getting overwhelmed, and we start getting pulled into this kind of dramatic situation, which doesn't solve anything and actually escalates the problem. And so if you've been in a situation like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it escalates, because they're getting angry, they're upset, they're all over the place, and then there you are starting to question your situation. You're starting to question if they validate or value you. You start questioning, I've done all this stuff for you and you treat me like this. And so it just builds out, and that's when that big argument hits, right? And that's when it's like, I don't want to see you again. I hate you. I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. That's when all that comes out. Okay, so what do we do? So if you realize that it's about the fear of rejection, the fear of being alone, the fear of getting close and what that means, and if you understand that dynamic. Now the problem with this is that this is part of an emotion, it's part of a feeling, it's innate within somebody. So they're ultimately feeling that all the time. So the closer you get, the more fear that they can feel. And so if we stop taking it personally and we realize that that whole basis is the fear of abandonment, And it's almost like the boomerang effect. Let me explain that. So if I have the fear of abandonment and I'm fearful that everybody's going to leave me, instead of, being more codependent and clingy, I'm going to push and reject people away. Which, what does that do? Well, that ultimately pushes people away. So ultimately, I get that rejection, I get that abandonment because I'm creating that reality. So understand that. If you can grasp that, you can realize that what they're doing is not what they want to be doing at all. They don't want to leave. They're just fearful that you're going to leave. And so if you ultimately realize that this is within them, and this is here and here within them, you can sit back and say, okay, even though it feels like I'm being accosted, I feel like I'm being yelled at and judged, it's not about them yelling and judging you. It's about their own fear being projected on you and the relationship. And so ultimately, this is my advice. And this can be really challenging because we have to really be really comfortable in our own skin, and we need to be feeling good about ourselves to be able to actually make this work. Okay, so first off, what you want to do is not retaliate. There's no reason to argue. There's no reason to fight. I thought we had this great time. I can't even believe you're doing this. I spent all this money on this weekend. I did all this stuff. No, we don't want to do that. That's not where we want to go with it. The best thing is to be calm. My advice is to not really talk that much. You can listen. And then my advice is to ultimately, when that person has finally calmed down, to just calmly state that you believe that this person is in fear of being alone. This person is in fear of being abandoned. And that they are actually pushing you away so that they don't have to deal with the abandonment from you. And this can be very hard for somebody to hear, but remember, if you say it more often than not, in a calm way, and this is your go-to response when this happens each time, eventually it starts to sink in. Because remember, you're dealing with somebody on autopilot. You're not dealing with somebody that is reasoning through this, saying, okay, I am a fear of abandonment, and because I have this fear of abandonment, I'm going to push people away, and here I go again. We've had this great weekend, and I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and start yelling and screaming and throwing things around in the hotel room because of my fear of being alone. No. So the only thing that we can do is be the rock, be the constant, be calm, but ultimately realizing it has nothing to do with you. And if you can calmly just listen, maybe taking breaks and saying, hey, I'm going to take a break. I need to take a break. I'm going to take a 5-minute walk. I'll come back. Not abandoning, because remember, we don't want to abandon this person in their ultimate emotional breakdown of feeling abandoned. But we don't need to be yelled at. We don't need to be hit. We definitely don't want to be physically hurt. But if somebody is just going off about this, it's really understanding why they're doing it, and then honestly, in a calm way, stating the fact, especially if you have no desire to leave and no desire to abandon them, is to state that truth. And then tell them that, what you're doing right now is trying to push me away, and that's not what I want. So can we stop going this direction? Can we calm down? Can we reset? And can we continue on the vibe that we had just a few hours ago? I hope that this helps you, because I think that sometimes in the moment, I know every time in the moment, it's scary, it's crazy. There's things going on all at once. You're not expecting it. You're in fear. You're worried because you like this relationship. You're happy with this relationship. You don't want them to leave. And so also we're all somewhat secure and insecure about ourselves. And so those insecurities come up too. Are they leaving me? Do they hate me? Have I done something wrong? But if you can honestly say, hey, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm the same person I was 5 hours ago, 10 hours ago. That's when you really understand, okay, this person has to deal with this, but this is something they need to deal with. I can be here and be as pleasant and positive as I possibly can, but ultimately you have to help them to see the light in the situation. And some people will eventually realize, oh my gosh, this is what I'm doing, and some people won't. And only time will tell the type of person that you're dealing with. And if they can get to that and understand that, and over time realize that, well, then we can overcome it. But if they're constantly on autopilot and not really conscious of what they're doing, then that's something that we have to kind of jump the next hump with, and that might not be the relationship that you need to ultimately choose. If you have questions like this or other types of questions, definitely email me directly, and in the description below this video, you'll find my email address. I like to discuss these types of subjects because a lot of times when we're in the moment, it's overwhelming, and we ultimately don't always do the right thing, and sometimes we perpetuate the problem. So definitely, when we try to look for solution and we look for a positive solution, that's when our life begins to change. And that's also when we're doing the right thing for ourselves as well as the right thing for others. If you like this type of content, give us a like on this video. And in the meantime, if you have a question for me, email me. In the description below, you'll find the email address that you can send your question to, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. That way you get notification of when we have new videos out. And we're trying to post on a daily basis and would love to hear feedback from you. In the meantime, don't forget to live your true life.